Atlanta. You're listening to WCEG Network. We are the worldwide community empowerment group. We speak life in the community. The show is Veteran Today. I'm one of the co-hosts, Herman Anderson. My other co-host is Anthony Aiken. Today, our guest is Tyler Browser. We will, after I finish the introduction, we will move through all of that. You may watch the option you have to watch us today more than one. You can watch us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. We're live streaming. Also WCEG Network, WCEG TV Channel, and www.WCEG Talk Radio. So those are the ways you can watch us. And our this disclaimer is the topics and opinion are those of the show host and the guest, not WCEG Network. WCEG Network is a nonprofit. Our business office number is 404-490-8646. Again, 404-490-8646. Good afternoon, Brother Anthony. How are you?
I'm just doing absolutely perfect. And thanks for asking. It's always good to see you and always be connected to Ms. Greer. And again, we welcome our exciting guest today. I mean, you can smile a little bit there. Thank you. Because I know that you're going to be providing us some tremendous information of importance to veterans and their families. So I welcome you. And again, good seeing you, Herman and Ms. Greer, as we move forward with this great show today.
Let me introduce our guest, Mr. Tyler Browser. This is a Veteran Connection Manager for the Connecting Cobb Veterans and a signature program of Cobb Collaborative in Marietta, Georgia. Tyler is recovered homeless veteran that has been working in the veteran nonprofit world for the past 7 years. Tyler's unique experience has given him the opportunity to work with Development Operation Case Management Services. Tyler is a veteran of the United States Air Force, where he served as an enlisted satellite wideband communication technician. He spent several years as a DoD contractor in Afghanistan, working on satellite communication. For your information, I also spent some time in Afghanistan as a contractor. He is married with two stepchildren and lives in Dallas, Georgia. Good afternoon, Mr.
And Herman, what I just heard is what I just heard you read, that this gentleman has over $1 million of training from the United States Army.
Air Force.
He's had a lot of training, man. That's excellent. A lot of time and invested in you. So I salute you from the Army side. Very good.
Thank you so much. Well, glad to be here, gentlemen.
And Tyler, usually Vivian is a veteran, so usually the Air Force is outnumbered. At least we're even today. So.
All right, good, outstanding.
Well, now I can take that knife off of Herman.
Let's get started.
Yeah. So, I tell you what, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself there, Tyler, and so our guests will know how things are with you and what you're doing there.
Sure. So I'm Tyler Bowser. I'm the Veteran Connection Manager here at Connecting Cobb Veterans. We're a signature program of Cobb Collaborative that's been around for over 25 years, making an impact here in Cobb County. So the number one goal for us and our mission is to help struggling veterans connect with the services and the entitlements that they have earned and deserve. And so we work with veterans that are struggling in any capacity, from an older veteran that needs home aid and attendance through the VA, down to a younger veteran that just got out and is having trouble with housing and might be homeless, living in their car. We even work with some veterans that are currently living on the streets, try to get them into transitional housing. So it's a broad spectrum of different connections that we help the veteran connect to those services. We've got a database of over 150 different providers here in Georgia. Most of them are right here in Cobb County. So we're able to, in some cases, here at the Vector Center where I'm located, we're able to work with the veteran and then actually walk them to an office and hand them off to the Georgia Department of Veteran Services. We have a VA representative here at the Vector Center. And then we also are going to be starting April 1st. We'll actually have a workforce development program sponsored by the Cobb Chamber here. So it's a great place for a lot of collaboration going on here at the Vector Center.
And just let me add a little bit about the Cobb Collaborative and the Cobb Connected Vets. I'm gonna read a short paragraph of it because I've been involved in it, and this will give us opportunity to discuss anything that relates to veterans. With all the other problems we face in our daily lives, why is it important to commit some of our time, treasure, and talent to help struggling veterans get back to where they lead productive lives and be integrated members of the community? There are a number of reasons why we have an imperative to take care of our struggling veterans. The tremendous sacrifice they made so that the rest of us could enjoy all the blessings that America has to offer. It was a prominent American made them. Veterans are valuable resources citizens once help and back in the community. George Washington offered one more reason. The willingness with which our people are like to serve in any war, no matter how justified, shall be directly proportioned to how they receive the veterans of earlier. They perceive the veterans of earlier war treated and appreciated by the nation.
That's right.
This covers all veterans of all wars, of all of the items that veterans are dealing with. So
I have a question for him. Mr. Bowser, we heard what Herman just read, and we know what your numbers that you just mentioned, but what has been the success rate? Understanding the bureaucracy, the VA and that big monster, what has been the success rate of a veteran coming in to go through the process to receive what he or she has earned?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it depends on what type of service that veteran needs. If the veteran's coming in for a VA disability claim, we set them up with an appointment with the Georgia Department of Veteran Services rep that's right here on the Vector Center. And as we all know, claims take anywhere between 4 and 5 months to actually come to fruition. So I've had some folks that were rated at 60 or 70%, but truly needed 100%, and helped walk them through that process. I couldn't give you a solid statistic of what the success rate looks like as far as veterans coming and going to file and receiving a claim, but I can tell you that our services, there's not a veteran that I've worked with yet that I haven't been able to connect with some type of service that's going to help them not to be struggling so much in life.
Well, you know, that was a leading question because you answered it exactly what we hoped you would say, because we wanted our veterans to know that it is a process. It could be cumbersome. It could be long range.
That's right.
And they can't give up. So you gave a true scenario of what that veteran would expect. So that's a very good point that you made. Points you made. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And it's very key that you mentioned 5 to 7 months, I believe, because that's really good timing, and because it in general in other situations it takes longer than that.
It's invalid email address.
To
That's right. I personally have had to go through the process, and I think it was about six to 7 months before I was initially rated at 40% for a lower back injury that I sustained while I was in the Air Force. And then trying to get that upgraded as, my body's limitations are starting to kind of increase, or starting to decrease, and I'm not able to do as much. I'm experiencing more pain. So I went through the process of trying to get an upgrade, and
Well,
the upgrade process took another 5 months.
I'm so happy to hear that because I thought it was just an Air Force Army thing because it almost took me 2 years. And what I'm hearing here with my calculation going on here, almost a year. So that's tremendous compared to what, Herman and I and all the others that back in the day had to go through 2, sometimes 3 year wait period.
Right. And
Well,
the one good thing about that, and I hate to say that it's a good thing, but the one good thing is the VA is still paying back pay. So from the original date of the claim, if you're approved, you're still getting back pay. That could change any time now, though. There's word that I've heard that says that the VA is going to stop doing back pay, and you'll just start receiving your benefit the day that they go ahead and declare that you are disabled at whatever percentage rating it is.
But that's not the fault of the veteran. If the veteran has applied and whoever in the benefits office has taken so long to get to it,
That's
that's
right.
not on us. That's
That's
not
right.
on us. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I think that's a two-edged sword there. I don't think that's correct. But hey, we're dealing with a bureaucracy, and I think something else needs to be stated because you said earlier about a veteran trying to go from 60% to 100%. It has to be very, very well documented
That's right.
why that was originally not awarded. So that veteran may have to add more. I mean, a lot more information for them to take a look at to increase that compensation.
That's right. And then, a lot of times the veteran will get desperate and reach out to these claims people outside of the original traditional VSOs, the VFW, the American Legion, the DAV, and then the Georgia Department of Veteran Services. They're going to these I call them claim sharks. That's the term I've heard. And they're paying exorbitant amount of dollars to try and get them pushed through to the finish line when a veteran with the help of Georgia Department of Veteran Services or the DAV is very good. And there's a lot of great veteran service officers out there that will help veterans free of charge. But veterans are falling into, they'll see an advertisement of an attorney or some kind of group that helps veterans to get their disability. And then they get stuck because they're going to pay an enormous amount of money once the claim is approved.
and
That's
what
amazing.
and what I think helps is the Cobb Collaborative and Connecting Cobb Vet, the 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 process that you mentioned. You can pretty much a veteran can pretty much go to one location and get direction, information, if not exact help at that location without having to go to other parts of the city, without having the VA is there, Georgia Department of Veteran Services there, in Cobb County is there, in all in one location.
That's right. It's a great service to be able to do that, to be able to actually walk somebody over and hand them off personally to one of our partners here. We have a partner from Highland Rivers. The Warrior Alliance is also represented. They're here one day a week. So, and then the collaboration that takes place when we're all working with the same person to try and get them, it could be legal issues, it could be upcoming court dates, working with calling over to our partners at the district attorney's office. It could be trying to get a work group together because there's a disabled veteran that needs their backyard cleaned out. That's a recent thing that I've had to do, but we can't solve it all right here at the Vector Center, but we can connect the veteran with other resources that are local. And they are, unfortunately, we can't have everybody here, but we can get them directed to those partners. And they, like you guys said, it is a process. And sometimes that does take visiting other organizations to get to the end goal.
So do you know, have an approximate number of veterans that you're serving currently in the state of Georgia?
Yeah, so our program started May of last year, and to date we've done 136 veterans that we've provided direct services to. Now we've been out in the community and we've spoken to thousands. We've got a record of a little over 4,500 veterans that we've actually spoken to at events across Cobb County. So the word is out there that we're here. We are trying to do a better job, though, of letting Cobb County, every single veteran that's in Cobb County, the last 2020 census showed that there's 39,900 veterans in Cobb County. That's an enormous amount of people. We want them all to know that we're here and we are willing and able to help them in any kind of thing that they're struggling with. And if we don't know something, if it's a new subject that we've never heard about, we're going to do the research and we're going to try and connect that veteran to the right resource. I've got a couple other statistics here. So it's the percentage of male to female starting to increase on the female side. On the female side was used to be about 17% of veterans were females. Well, that's starting to increase as we get it out of OEF and OIF all during the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. There were a tremendous amount of female veterans that served downrange, some of them in combat positions. And we don't think typically that a female would be in a combat position. But if you're getting shot at and rockets are flying at you, you're in a combat situation. So that level is increasing, and we're starting to see about 30% of the veterans that come to us are female. Some of the other areas, about 40% are coming to us for housing benefits or housing in general, about 30% for VA benefits, about 20% for healthcare, and then about 10% for employment. Multiple people will come in and actually need multiple services. If somebody's homeless, they're obviously going to need housing. We're going to need to plug them into VA healthcare. We're going to need to plug them into VA benefits, and then we're going to need to plug them into employment. So it could be a heavy lift for some individuals that come in here.
Question on the female veteran side. You mentioned 10% on healthcare, but does that cover OBGYN services? Does that cover prenatal care? It does cover anything related to reproductive life? Is that also covered? Sexual trauma, exploitations?
Yeah, so a lot of that would have to be handled by the VA, and we would get that if they're not already enrolled in VA healthcare. That's something we would do, walk them down to our partner at the VA here in the Vector Center, get them enrolled into VA healthcare so they can go see a primary care physician and then, be referred out to other providers as needed. If it's a female that is with children, we have a great relationship with Center for Family Resources. So we'll hook them up with them, and they can handle anything from the housing piece to food and clothing and different necessary training that they have over there as well.
I think it's very, very important that the female veteran get just as much attention as the male veterans.
Absolutely.
Much as there can be any separation or any degradation of coverage or benefits or anything.
That's right. And oftentimes, for instance, on Veterans Day, I've heard this story a couple of times from some different females. They would go out and, ask for the veteran discount or whatever at a particular establishment. And then they would always look towards the man at the table to ask them for their veteran ID when, in fact, it's the female. And people don't recognize we've got a lot of females that are veterans that have fought for our country. They've signed their name on the dotted line, raised their right hand. and gone out and done the work of Uncle Sam. So they deserve everything that a male veteran would receive, obviously. But there are some unique situations. Obviously, military sexual trauma is huge. I don't have the exact statistics of how many are affected from MST, but I've met a couple females, and typically anytime I meet with them, we have a female social worker that comes and sits in with us. But the trauma that they experience sometimes doesn't even allow them to speak to a man because of the trauma was so bad. So those things we want to address here, and we have the capacity to be able to do that.
Very good. That's very good.
Several things. Tell us a little bit about how Cobb Connecting Cobb Vets is organized, because I know you guys have community managers. We have a relationship with Georgia Department of Veteran Services, and also with that come Unite Us, which is an automated database. Can you kind of go through that?
Sure. So Connecting Cobb Veterans is underneath the Cobb Collaborative, which is not a gigantic nonprofit, but they're doing some very heavy lifting here in Cobb County. Now, we are one of their programs. So they have a program for literacy. They also have a program for suicide prevention. And then they have a program, community engagement with us. Our team's pretty small. We have myself as the Veteran Connection Manager. Then we have Dan Valentine, who is the Program Manager. And then we have Heather Oliver. She is our Community Engagement Manager. So she is responsible for getting the word out about what we're doing and how we're doing it here in Cobb County. We utilize the Unitas platform, and Unitas is a database and case management tool that we can make electronic referrals from us here out to a broader audience. And that includes Georgia Department of Veteran Services, Must Ministries, Hope Atlanta. Who else is on there? Just a bunch of different providers. And so we're able to go ahead and make a referral for somebody. If they needed housing, I can make a referral to 3 or 4 different agencies. And then one of those agencies would actually pick up the referral or close the referral out. And then they would have an open case and they would work that case. I wouldn't have to worry about it. It's already been accepted by that organization.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. And how long have you been around again? So I'll guess
we've been just less than a year. So May will be 1 full year that this program has been around. Cobb Collaborative, our parent organization, the nonprofit Cobb Collaborative, has been around for over 25 years.
This is awesome. Yeah. I like the tone of it and the philosophy behind it. I like that. I really think it's great information, Herman.
Yeah, and one thing, Dan Valentine, the program manager, he is actively engaged in making sure that we have legacy here. So he's going out doing the development piece, finding funders. The original grant that we were actually opened under was from the ARPA grant from the federal government, came down to the county level. So the first grant, which started in May, will end in the end of April. And then we will be self-sustaining after that through development processes that Dan's working on right now. We've got a couple of large grants that we're going after, but it's really important for us to build the legacy and to make sure that we're self-sustaining in the future. And that's really our full court press. As far as Dan is concerned, he's out there meeting, shaking hands, gripping and grinning, trying to make sure that people know about us, and then actively ensuring that we can get financial support from the community to continue the program.
And I think it was March the 5th that the Veteran Administration changed the rule as to getting veterans that not even in the system to register in the system. Do you think that's going to increase the work for your organization and the VA and all organizations that deal with veterans getting into the system?
Yeah, I think for sure the VA obviously will see a larger increase in patient load. And for us, though, it's really about community engagement and getting out there. We have some cards, they're business cards, and they have 4 different ways to get a hold of us. So you can email us, call us, text us, or walk in over here at the Vector Center. And the point of that is that we want to be the resource so that people can find out information like you just shared and make sure that they actually go over and speak with the VA rep here at the Vector Center and enroll in VA medical health care. The PAC Act is a great example of how somebody can receive health care that wasn't eligible for health care before.
Right. I was going to mention the PAC Act. I'm glad you brought that up. One other thing, as far as since you're relatively new, we're coming up very shortly on a very, very big month, and that's the month of May, which is National Military Appreciation Month. Has there been any plans from your organization thinking outside the box to make sure that all of social media and any other type of media is flooded to provide your company's information for veterans that seek support and help?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what Heather, our community engagement manager, that's kind of her focus to make sure that that's blasted across our platforms. Now, we don't have the depth, and we're currently on LinkedIn, but Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, those are, platforms that we haven't spun up yet. So most of our communication is either done on our website or is done through LinkedIn, just on the professional side to kind of get that information out there. But we're actually going to be having a kind of a cocktail mixer, and that piece in there that it's Military Appreciation Month will be a theme of ours. And that's really a big development piece for us because we're going to be inviting military members, former military members that are leaders here in Cobb County to come out, listen to us, listen to what we are doing, and then to develop those relationships in for sustainability and long-term growth.
If you have the information available, contact information, would you like to provide it this time? Or if you don't have it, we can do it at the end of the program.
Sure. For us, you want our contact information?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our phone number is 404-632-8381. That's my direct line. You can also email us, veteranhelp.ccv@cobbcollaborative.org. Or you can come over here to the Vector Center, which is this amazing private and kind of publicly funded center. It's on Chattahoochee Tech Marietta campus. There's a beautiful facility. It's about 10,000 square feet. We've got an amazing veterans lounge. You can come down, have a cup of coffee, and meet with other veterans. But you can come see me and sit down and talk, and we can try and figure out what kind of services that we can render for you and who we can connect you with.
That's awesome. 10,000 square feet?
It's a big building, yeah. I don't know if I think it's about 10,000. We've got about 15 offices in here, some work group areas. We've got a humongous computer laboratory, and then we've got this fantastic lounge that was sponsored by Superior Plumbing. Jay Cunningham, his father was in the military. He was in the Air Force, and so he was the private funder, and then the state stepped up and put a lot of money into rehabbing this building on Chattahoochee Tech. And then they did a great job. They dedicated this for veterans, and this whole space is dedicated to veterans to come in. Also the Marietta Vet Center is here. They handle post 9/11 folks that have PTSD or have some kind of trauma. They provide counseling for them here on site.
I hope they use that as a model, because that's not around the country. That's not around the city of Atlanta.
That's right.
What you have there. So I hope they use this as a model for Atlanta and DeKalb County and all those other areas that are very dense with military.
Anthony, I think, I can't verify this, but there's a similar situation in Warner Robins.
That's
Okay.
right. Yeah,
And
so
there are state of
the original Vector Center is down there at Warner Robins, and was sponsored. The Georgia Department of Veteran Services kind of put it together, and they have little. They've been around a long time, so they have more resources down there, and we're starting to attract more resources here. Just recently, an initiative by the Cobb Chamber, the Workforce Development Group, they have sponsored to have somebody here specifically for the growth of jobs in Cobb County. And they're going to be working with veterans exclusively here at the Vector Center. So we'll be able to take our veterans, walk them right across the hallway, sit down with the workforce development folks there. They're going to have lists of jobs already available. They'll have counseling. They'll have the opportunity to help rewrite resumes. So it's going to be an incredible resource for us.
Yeah, I was just saying that, Atlanta, DeKalb County, Henry County, other areas that have very dense populations.
Right.
I think those are the areas you try and emulate what Cobb County has done, because I know Fulton County doesn't have anything like this, and I'm not sure about some of the others, but this should be a model for others to follow.
Yeah. And it always comes down to the one main thing. It's all about the financial support in that particular local area. We just happen to be blessed that there were some folks that were volunteering, like Herman, that were volunteering, kind of spinning this up, especially during the COVID timeframe. That was really where the idea came from, was pre-COVID, and then through COVID, trying to stand it up, and then finally getting funding to actually have folks doing the work. That came last year through the ARPA grant. So it's always about funding and trying to find somebody that's willing to back you so that you can actually go out and do the work.
Yep, sounds good.
And also, Anthony, as we tiptoe through the violence, it's about veterans voting. It's about getting our state Department of Veteran Services budget and the local state representative and county representatives because one thing that we did discuss quite a bit is veterans in Cobb County, for example, the elected county commissioners and whoever didn't really, the number that he gave out is the amount of veterans in Cobb County. They didn't really recognize. Some of them didn't know we existed. So
Amazing.
that's all included.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Didn't know they existed. Wow. That's amazing. Now, just listening to it, I'm just enthused that this group is out there, because when Herman and I went through years ago, we were like struggling. Just struggling, trying to get to the right spot, or to have someone willing, or an organization willing to listen and take you through the process, because it is a process.
Absolutely. Especially I'm working with several different individuals right now that are either at risk of being homeless or are homeless. And that process takes time to be able to get somebody from completely being homeless on the streets or living in their car until they can get into a more permanent housing situation. So we were very, very blessed to receive a grant during the holidays to put people into lodging. So somebody would present themselves here, or they'd give me a call. As long as I could get a copy of their DD-214, or if I could verify some other way to make sure that they're eligible, that they did actually serve, we can put them into a hotel for up to a week. And that gives us some bridge time, because a lot of the transitional housing models that are out there, you have to get a TB test. That's 48 hours. You got to get another test. So it could be up to 72 hours from the time that the veteran presents themselves until they can actually get into a bed. Well, during that 72 hours, that veteran could be lost back to chronic homelessness, could be lost back to their addiction, to drinking. and then they just give up on it because of that process. So I've known about this for a long time. I've worked did some consulting work with another nonprofit, Operation Rally Point, out in Monroe, Georgia. And it comes down to capturing that veteran and putting them into a safe, environmentally friendly, like if it's cold out, and we had some really cold temperatures this year, luckily I was able to get a veteran that was sleeping in a tent and in a sleeping bag into a warm weather lodging for 2 weeks. So we were very blessed to be able to have those dollars. And we've written grants that are specifically wrapped around the lodging model. And this lodging model is instead of there's some organizations out there that'll give you a night or two, and that gives you respite from the cold or the rain, to let you have a shower. But to truly relieve the cognitive burden that somebody that is homeless, all of the burden of trying to find a place to stay that night, trying to find food, at least they're settled down to the point that they are able to sleep at night, stay comfortable, take a shower, get some case management services from us, find food, so that they have a steady food supply, and then begin the process of trying to get them into transitional housing. We've got some great partners here in Cobb County through Must Ministries, and they've got a really great veterans program that's in apartments. It takes time to get them in there. They have to have a mental health evaluation. They have to have their DD-214. And then it takes a couple days even after that documentation is received. So if we can put them up into lodging, save them from going back to chronically homeless, and then get them into the transitional housing, much better success rate than just saying, hey, come back in 2 days or 3 days.
No, that's great. That is absolutely great. Because I was just sitting here quivering and shaking, man, because we don't really know the trials and tribulations of a veteran once he or she gets out of uniform. And we've talked on previous shows about the minimal time that is involved with transition through the transition program for that veteran, male or female, to come from the $1 million type training you've had and the background you've been involved with and the esprit de corps and all that comes along with being active duty military or reserve personnel into an environment where you're really not viewed as anything. You hear a lot about thank you for your service, but sometimes I believe that's a metaphor. They really don't really mean it because they don't understand what you have gone through or had to endure for us to remain free, keep our borders safe, etc. So having something out there like this is tremendous because mental health is real.
Yes.
It's real because of the trauma that you've gone through serving this nation. Yeah, we raised our hand, we volunteered, that's an all-volunteer service. But if we didn't do it, what the heck would we have?
Right.
Chaos.
Yep.
So your value and what you do is tremendous. And I hope it just reaches people that can act. That's why I'm very glad that Herman stated at the outset, we speak value and truth into the community.
Amen.
And speaking of that,
that's our purpose.
The reason I'm asking this question, I just want it out there as much as possible.
Exactly right.
Famous DD Form 214.
Right.
I get a call last Friday afternoon. Husband is in the funeral home, and they can't get a DD Form 214. So I know most of the funeral directors know how to call and get an emergency one.
Right.
Do you have any additional input on that?
This is a great process that I just figured out working with some veterans. If you go to the National Archives and click on military service records and you do a request, you can go through and then you can do select emergency. And then for one of them is for burial, and then another one is for homelessness. So you can click on the drop down link. And I've had a DD-214 sent to me electronically within 48 hours. So think about that. Big win, huge win. There's only been one out of probably 12 or 15 veterans that I've worked with that had to get their DD-214 through the National Archives. There's only been one where I had a tremendous challenge. And I didn't know this, but the Guard units that are out there and the reserve units, their DD-214s are held at their HR office for the Guard unit. They're not held at the National Archives. And I've been working since January to get a DD-214, and we just got it today, finally. I had made a call up to the Ohio National Guard, and there was a gentleman that's like, yep, you just fill this form out, send it back to me, and we'll have it to you in 48 hours. So tremendous win there, but it still took a long time to get done.
Sure. I have a question, if you don't mind. Yesterday, I was getting a haircut, and it was a veteran that was giving me the haircut. And while I'm sitting there, he was talking a lot about, his health issues. And one was dealing with prostate cancer. And he was very, very embarrassed by it. But the other part about it was that he didn't have extensive medical records from his time in the military. Is there a process that you have in place if a veteran comes up to you, and we know that in St. Louis, the building burned down and all the records and stuff were gone. Is there a process that that veteran and their family could know about to try and obtain medical records?
Yeah, so it would still, from what I understand, the section that burned was just from the 60s and 70s. There was a section that, those records were lost, or I don't quite know. But if you recently got out, that's not going to really affect you. You can go ahead and request through the National Archives your entire medical history. The other thing is that more than likely now, the VA is going to be able to have access to those, and they're going to be able to pull all of those medical records. That's the way when I did my claim, I didn't have to actually go and request all of my medical records. The VA did that, and they were able to receive it. And sure enough, there was one document in there from an emergency room out in Colorado when I worked for Space Command that showed that I had gone in for severe back pain after an exercise, lifting a bunch of heavy equipment. So the National Archives would be the way to do that, or just coming here and filing a claim through the Georgia Department of Veteran Services and let the VA do the heavy lifting on that.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, one other thing I wanted to touch base with you. If the veteran was ever deployed downrange anywhere in Southwest Asia, Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan, anywhere where they had burn pits, any internal cancers, and I'm pretty sure prostate cancer is included in there, that's a presumptive illness. So there wouldn't have to be anything. You just have to serve one day or so many days in country for that to be a presumptive illness.
Could you address, because I run into this sometimes with veterans, during their entire military career, they may have gone on some type of campaign, either Marines, Army, doesn't matter. But that particular campaign had not been designated an official war. But there were an environment where there were war-type activities going on, IEDs, all that kind of stuff. How is that veteran viewed in the VA system going through the process?
That's a good question. So it would be dependent upon if you have been awarded like some kind of campaign badge, or I'm trying to think. It's what I have. It's a deployment badge, a deployment ribbon. So I'm sorry, gentlemen, I can't remember what the name of it is, but there would be some kind of tie-in with some type of award. So if that award was on there, to be a member of the VFW, for instance, you have to have served in a war zone for so many days. And so it's the same way with the VA, if you're going to be service connected, or you're going to have, trying to think of the right phrase, because I don't want to mislead anybody. There are certain benefits that a combat veteran or a veteran that's been deployed downrange, there are certain benefits that they're entitled to that other veterans that did not go downrange or deploy receives. So for instance, if there is a veteran that is extremely low income, and they have some kind of disability, and it can be anything from depression to, broken legs, any kind of disability, they can file for the non-service connected pension. And that non-service connected pension is equal to about 60% disability. So it's roughly a payment of like $1,400 a month. And there's certain restrictions on what your income and then your assets are, but that's a benefit that a combat veteran is entitled to, as opposed to somebody that did not serve downrange, that did not get deployed. The ribbon that I was wanting to tell you about is called the Expeditionary Medal, and that shows that you've been downrange. Yep,
that's it. Yeah, because you see that a lot. There are many campaigns out there, but sometimes people get confused about, well, should I go because I only served here or I only did that, but they needed to know wherever they were and how it was considered. So you answered the question. Thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome.
The claims, we talk a lot about disability. What about aid and attendance and other claims that's going through the process?
Yeah.
But do you think they should be in a separate? I would assume that the same service officer, qualified service officer, can take any claim. But do you think there should be more clarification on what's disability, what's aid and attendance, of what's
Absolutely.
home care?
Yeah, so there's quite a few documents that the VA does have that they can hand you and say these are your benefits. I remember in my TAP program getting this thick book of all kinds of information, and I was a young airman. I got out. I didn't really care. I threw it in the trash because I didn't think I was going to need any of those benefits. But the VA does have documentation that describes all the different types of VA disability compensation, what that looks like, and then any other benefits that are you're entitled to. It could be home aid and attendance. It could be burial. There's the VA home loan guarantee. A lot of veterans don't know, how do I use my VA home loan guarantee? Well, first you got to get a certification letter from the VA, and then you got to submit that to the mortgage company. So there's a lot of different benefits that veterans should take advantage of that they're not. The home aid and attendance is a great example. I had an elderly veteran that came in here. He's 90% disabled, but older, in his 80s. He definitely needed aid and attendance, and he was able to get that. We actually got him to 100% through the Georgia Department of Veteran Services, and then added on the aid and attendance, and he was able to get some help at his home because he was living by himself, basically wheelchair bound, had a little bit of mobility, but definitely needed some help at his house.
Yeah, you're finding out because I know I've excuse me, I've gone through it 2 times. I don't know how many times Herman's going through it, but at least 2 times on the aid and attendance through the VA and service officers. It's just been a very tedious process, even down to the point of telephone interviews, but you have to keep it up. And now there's taking a look at caregivers. There's another avenue because I know my wife puts in a lot of support in regards to me with my disability. So those individuals should definitely not be left out. But it's a fight. It's a fight.
It is, and you're right. That process is rough and tumble because oftentimes for home aid and attendance, you have to get a letter from a physician that supports the need for it. So you come here, you file for it, and then we say, well, you're going to need this document. Now you got to go make a doctor's appointment. You got to pay for the doctor, if it's outside, and then finally come back and file all the paperwork for the claim. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's one point that I emphasize, and I think Connecting Cobb Vets, if I'm getting it right, is with partnering with Georgia Department of Veteran Services and Unite Us. That's the automation part, and that's the technology part that is part of the Cobb Collaborative organization that we don't have out in the general operating process because of being able to uh, come to pretty much one stop and have your information put into uh, the Georgia Department of Veteran Service and Unite Us database. So it's available to all of the agencies, plus it's available to nonprofits that serve veterans that want to participate, because I'm aware of it. So just what are your, how beneficial you think that is?
Oh, it's huge, but it's even better when I can walk right over to Kareem Reddick's office. He's the VSO for the Georgia Department of Veteran Services here. So instead of giving an electronic referral, I can just march the veteran right over there and have them set up a meeting and a time to meet. If Kareem's available and doesn't have an appointment, he can see them right then and there. If not, they can set up an appropriate time to come back and meet. But we're not working just in Cobb County. We are Connecting Cobb Veterans, but we work with veterans from all over. So I have a couple up in Cartersville and Bartow County. I'll get referrals from Cherokee County, from Jim Lindenmeyer and the Cherokee County Homeless Veteran Coalition. We'll get referrals from out my buddy out at Operation Rally Point. So we'll serve veterans from kind of all over the local area, and may need to use the GDVS up in Cartersville or the one in Rome. Need to reach out to those partners. So can do that on Unitas, and it's a good platform for us to be able to do that and do a solid handoff.
Well, that plus what I wanted to add is to veterans in being able to put that going through the Georgia Department of Veteran Services, whether it's in South Georgia or wherever, being able to put your information into the United's platform, because actually as me being part of it and also having an organization, Veteranshelpingveterans, you can, if a veteran in Augusta put information in and you have a nonprofit in there that it has to be good information in. We talked about garbage in, garbage out. And
Right.
if
Yeah.
they're active, you can really, someone that may be able to help them can see them and help them. That's
That's right. Yeah, Unitas is a good platform for that. Absolutely.
Yeah, very good platform. Well, is there anything major that we may have not brought up during this interview that you think our listeners around the world should know about, which you could provide?
Yeah, we're getting to epidemic proportions with homeless veterans. We're seeing the cost of living is so outrageous. Landlords are raising rents, and I don't care what the news says. I didn't get a raise in this last year, and I don't know anybody else that's making enough money to fight the curb of inflation. And so, seeing a lot of folks that were stably housed, but something happened. They missed work for 2 weeks. They just fell on hard times, and the homeless situation is something that we're seeing more and more. And like I said, housing is 40% of 30 different subjects that we work on. That one subject is 40% of our workload. So that's the biggest thing I want people to know about. And I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. After the moratorium on evictions that happened after COVID, I don't know how many dozens of evictions are going on over at the courthouse steps, on every Thursday, but it's a ton. And some of those are veterans. We're here to help them and point them in the right direction, help get them hooked up with some of the housing programs. But here is the challenge with the housing programs that the veterans, that the VA has out there. They're very cumbersome, and it takes somebody from the time that they present themselves a minimum of 3 months, but upwards of 6 to 9 months to actually get into permanent housing, to get into their own apartment. layers of bureaucracy for every dollar that's given to these organizations to dole out to the veterans to help put their down payment, turn on the lights, maybe give a first or second month's worth of rent to get that veteran going. By the time that dollar gets down to the veteran, it's been absorbed and divided by multiple layers of management, bureaucracy, case management. And the veterans are they're not being taken care of in a rapid response, and it needs to be changed at the federal level.
It's heartbreaking. Even we have people wishing for success through the lottery. Yeah. I noticed yesterday there's over almost $1.2 billion through lottery, either through mega bucks or whatever they call them.
Right.
Why can't they just allocate throughout the country, all the states, X number of dollars dedicated to a veteran program? That would wipe out a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And here's what the politicians will tell you. We're already doing it. We're already spending billions of dollars. That's true. You're spending billions of dollars on this problem. But the billions of dollars are being absorbed by bureaucracy and levels of management. Go out, find nonprofits that are housing veterans and give them the money and allow them to work to get it done. It's something that just needs to be changed. The two major programs are HUD-VASH, which is subsidized housing for veterans that have low income, puts them into a place where they pay 30% of their income towards their housing. It's a good program for some. If you're an older veteran, you're stuck on Social Security, maybe a little bit of disability, and you're never going to be able to go out into the workforce and make more money. It's a fairly good program. Takes 6 to 9 months to get into. And then there's SSVF, which is Supportive Services for Veteran Families. That program, from the time you show up down at Hope Atlanta or Fort McPherson, is 4 to 6 months before you find an apartment, and they make you go out and find the apartment. Well, if you're homeless and you don't have a car, that's an impossible task to go out and try and find an apartment. Something needs to change, and there are enough people that have worked on this problem to come up with coherent solutions that can be more effectively doled out than what's currently going on.
Well, I would like to hear those solutions and what we can do about them. We're running out of time, so we'll do it another time, or you'll see me over there. Give us your contact information again.
Yeah, you can reach me direct at 404-632-8381, and then you can email me at veteranhelp.ccv@cobbcollaborative.org.
Well, thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you,
Braza, and thank the Cobb Collaborative for providing resources for this organization.
That's right.
Would you wrap us up, Anthony?
I would be glad to. I just want to say again to you, Tyler, thank you for coming on the show. And just let you know, this show would only be possible because of the mustard seed dream of our founder, Penny Rogers, and the great support that we get from Ms. Greer being our technical manager, making sure we're on spot. So I just want to say thank you. We appreciate you. The information we've provided today to our listeners worldwide, trust me, it has affected someone to put things in action. Again, thank you very much.
Outstanding. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you letting me be on the show today. And I just want to let veterans know, hey, we're here, we're ready to help you, and come out from wherever you are and come see us.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good afternoon. WCEG Networks is been in existence quite a few years now. Anthony and myself have been doing Veterans Day at least 7 years. So we want to keep you coming back again.
Outstanding.
Have a good day, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you, Herman. Thank you, brother. You guys have a great day, and thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you very much.